Savoys.
Okay, well, the Swiss story is well over 1,000 years old. It's older than 1,000 years, but so you could spend years talking about the history of Europe and Switzerland. But if you went on bicycle ride, you'd learn a lot without actually having to listen to anyone lecture you. You just ride around and you see that you have these mountains, the Alps. And we have the French Alps and the Italian Alps, which are called the Dolomites. And then we have the Swiss Alps. Anyway, you have this place that is set up just like a militarized fort called Switzerland, surrounded by very high mountains, 8,000 feet tall mountains. And this is a natural wall, a protective wall to keep invaders out and keep schemers in. And I can assure you they didn't build the wealth of Switzerland on cuckoo clocks and, cheeses from the cows that graze upon the hillsides of those Alps. And anyway, so I don't want to get into the whole minutia about when did Switzerland enter the fray. But if I started, I would say it was with, the creation of the Knights Templar, which are soldiers of Christ. And this is where we integrate the Christianity and the apostolic Roman Catholic Church and align it directly with military weaponry of saber swords, bayonets, rifles, spears, cannons, and divisions of men, companies, battalions, troops. And then under the guise of Christianity and missionary work, where have we heard that before? We go to foreign countries outside of our border and we rape and pillage and we set up basilicas and bring in a priest and we set a moral authority which the locals don't understand. And then at a point of a saber sword or bayonet, we baptize the local people into our district. And they do call it a district. They also appoint, besides the parish priest, they will also appoint a governor who will have bank authority. You have a banking governor. You've heard that expression, the governors of the Federal Reserve Bank. There are 7 governors of the Federal Reserve banking system in the United States. There are 13 Federal Reserve Bank headquarters. There are 12 districts. There are 12 banking districts. That comports to 33 is 12, right? How many apostles for Jesus? 12. There were 12 apostles. What did the Holy Catholic Church adopt with Jewish Christianity? It was called the Apostolic Christianity, Apostolic Roman Catholic Church, Apostolic, based on 12. Well, the board of directors of the Federal Reserve Bank in Washington, D.C., which, by the way, is not a state. It is a maritime law district of Columbia. It is a district, not a state. It's in District 5 of the Hunger Games, but yet it has a life to its own. And this is the headquarters for central authority with a ginormous obelisk called the Washington Monument with a reflection pond and the Lincoln Memorial at the other end. This is an allegiance to Geneva, Switzerland, Swiss Bank Authority. If you didn't know, it is the 13th Federal Reserve Bank, is headquartered in and around the obelisk in Washington, D.C. You will find the same situation in Paris, France, in the same thing. One's heads, one's tails, but they're yin and yang. They do depend on each other because banks need to be guarded, because when citizens rise up and realize that they have an unethical banker on their hands, then the banker lives in fear of being, hung in the town square. So they hide behind their security systems, their cameras, and their armed guards, Brinks armed guards, and later, National Guards and Marines. Donald Trump is a good example of the clown show of, I'm going to send in the Marines to keep order. You're not going to keep order. If you want to set up a prison, that's more
Hmm.
restrictive, you can do that. That's all the Marines can do, is to set a perimeter and guard the perimeter. That's all they can do. They can be like My Lai, like the United States Army, and go in and just murder children and women. You can do that too. Or you can just do it without entering the secured perimeter. You drop a bomb or electrify them all or kill them with streetlights, LED weapons, light emitting diode weaponry. You can do that. You can kill people. But as far as law and order, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as law, and there's no such thing as order. There's only techno-enslavement or enslavement by any means possible. But there's no law. There are no judges. There are no courts, and there is no order. There's just people figuring it out how to get food and shelter. That's what we have. Civilization is defined as military control. That's what they would say. Now, bankers are heavily indoctrinated people, so they are fairly clueless. They're just on a submarine that has all the different compartments that are sealed off from each other. And the bankers that are in the torpedo room, they don't know anything about what goes on in the galley or the engine room. They're clueless as to where the steak knives are kept. But the people in the galley know where the steak knives are. And so that's how they've arranged the military, like with a naval submarine. Well, guess how they arrange the Bank for International Settlements, or Bank America, or Merrill Lynch is part of Bank of America, or Blackstone, or BlackRock, or Chase, Jamie Dimon Chase, or Citigroup. Exactly how the Navy is organizing their ships and submarines. Exactly how the Air Force is organizing their chemtrail delivery vehicles, the KC-10 extenders, the KC-46 Pegasus. All branches of the military are organized precisely how all major banks are set up, in a compartmentalized, need to know security clearance knowledge. So when you ask what would a banker say, well, it depends which level on the obelisk they are. The higher up, like the president of the World Bank,
How
for
do they
example,
see money,
that
currency?
they would see it as control. It's a control mechanism. It's one of the best control mechanisms that they've ever created,
Hmm.
is this idea, which they perfected, as credit. It is now money is credit. Money is not silver and gold coins anymore. I mean, they're just about gotten that completely
The
gone.
greatest
But
alchemical feat.
credit. It's about your privileges within a society Hunger Game district.
I said it was the greatest alchemical feat of all time to create gold out of nothing. Thin United Nations, the IRC, RCM, International Red Cross and Red Crescent Movement, or the IMF, International Monetary Fund.
Right.
The Bank of International Settlements has a special status. Employees in the financial sector are granted immunity and may not be searched. The building and all its parts also play a crucial or special role. The building and grounds are treated similarly to an embassy and are invulnerable. That's the Swiss usage of the word, or inviolable, German usage of the word. It is part of the Swiss territory, but national sovereignty can only be enforced to a limited extent. Swiss authorities have access only if the president or CEO of the Bank of International Settlements grants permission and waives the principle of territorial inviolability. The circumstance is often colloquially referred to in the press as extraterritorial status, which is somewhat simplified but not entirely legally correct. This special status is governed by an agreement which entered into force on January 1st, 1987, between the Bank of International Settlements and the Swiss Federal Council. The agreement has its origins in an agreement concluded at the Hague Conference on January 20th, 1930. Access by Swiss authorities, including the police, requires the authorization of the president or general manager of the Bank of International Settlements. In my mind, it sounds like the bank is the one that runs that country.
Of course.
That's like literally, there's no really no way.
That's who runs Donald Trump.
Yeah.
There's no president. There's no King Charles doesn't run the United Kingdom. Switzerland does. And Henry VIII didn't run England either. Okay. So Sir Francis Drake, he's flying a Swiss flag. Sir Francis Drake is flying a Swiss flag when he came out to California, Point Reyes and Drake's Bay. We renamed it Drake's Bay on Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. He's flying a red cross against a white sail like he's a Spanish conquistador, but he's not from Spain. He's from England, but he flies the exact same flag that Spain does. So Spain and England are two colonies belonging to Switzerland. The Swiss flag is a red canton with a white flag, but you'll notice that the Red Cross, which is the inversion of that, is also headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. And that's the flag that they have Spain and England flying under, is the Red Cross flag.
We'll get to that because I got an image of that. The papal infallibility, that was a big point that I like. The whole thing works on that.
The policy that you just read concerning the Bank for International Settlements being like an embassy, like its own sovereign state, and that the police cannot search and seize the people that work there, that's the policy of the Vatican in Rome. That's the policy of the infallibility of the Pope. That's the policy that you are not allowed to question or investigate decision making that occurs within that sovereign ground, the grounds around the Vatican, the walled city, and the Vatican essentially is modeled after the tower in Switzerland, which I'll give you the address of where it's located. It's at Central Bank Plaza, number 2. You should know that number 2 is 11. You should know 11. There are 12.
Honestly, with other people about that as well, the best way to view this literally is that it is, like cataloging and keeping track of livestock. That is livestock management, like not literally
Sophisticated
yes.
bookkeeping system.
Mm-hmm.
You can run cryptocurrency on, and you can run central bank digital currency on the exact platform that the crypto runs on. So I'm going to do Bitcoin. I don't care. I'm going to do Wells Fargo central bank digital currency. I don't care. I'm going to do barter and exchange, and I'm going to run around my neighborhood trying to sell artwork. I don't care. I'm keeping track of your geofencing. I know where you sleep. I know where you go. I know if you're carrying things. I know if you hand it to someone and they hand you something back. I know that because I have Ring cameras and I have ultrasonic systems. I have smart meters, LED streetlights. I have drones over your head that you don't see. I have satellites above, right? So I don't care what you do. I'm tracking you, whether you participate or not.
So the idea being, 1984, the truth is whatever Big Brother says the truth is. So the goal is literally to move the truth over to the crypto ledger. That's the whole dynamic of why they're making good into bad and bad, like the inversion, is they're going to move truth over to something that they literally do control. Because once they control truth, then they control time.
Sure. And then it's all a meta universe. It's AR, VR. Right now we're in an augmented reality where there's a lot of, we're in a matrix of mendacity where the television news presenters, the news readers, they're lying 24/7. Then you go over, you run off TV over to the podcasters. 99% of them are rinse and repeating what was disseminated on the cable television. So whether they are conscripted or paid directly, or they just believe drinking the Kool-Aid by injecting their personal opinion to a fake story, a story that's mendacity, they are rinse and repeating a propaganda story, and they're drawing attention and shedding light onto a lie. So in other words, they're engaging in pacification and control, not education. That's the big distinction between your channel and my channel. We're trying to educate people. We really want to be teachers who educate. And the definition of education is not indoctrination. That's not the definition. It's to help people gain wisdom, to help people gain useful knowledge. That's what a teacher does. That's what, in my opinion, that's what a teacher does. At all Harvard University, Stanford University, University of California, Berkeley, Notre Dame, They don't do that. They don't engage in teaching. They only participate in indoctrination so that you can get a better job and get a degree and have some academic status. But they are not interested in filling your head full of wisdom or knowledge. That is not their charter. Their mission, they have a mission, is to make you an obedient slave and to disable or confuse your tenets of thinking. They don't promote self-analysis. They don't